So recently, I had to have a emergency surgery. First time I've ever had surgery. At least, you know, what I consider surgery, like being put under and stuff like that. I had a gallbladder stone. I had to have my gallbladder removed. Not fun. If in case you've ever had one of those, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, during the procedure, of course, they put you under anesthesia, right? And I did, and I, didn't really know what to expect. But I remember waking up and not knowing where it was. Um, just kind of like I know I didn't really know what happened. I knew that I was in some pain, and I kind of looked around, and I couldn't tell that I was in a hospital. It no longer looked like a hospital. I guess they were wheeling me out of the room and pushing me back to my room, but the hallway looked different. It more looked like kind of like being like in an underground bunker, almost like an old war movie, because the walls were dirty and shit, and there were pipes, and water was leaking and shit. Almost like one of those old scenes from like one of those old Nightmare on Elm Streets, where Freddy's like walking through like the hospital and shit. It was something smelled like that. It didn't look. I wasn't really scared, but it didn't look like the hospital. Um, and the nurse I looked up at, and she didn't really look like the nurse that I remembered. She didn't even really look like a nurse. She looked more like a kind of like an undead, not really a vampire or a zombie, but she just looked weird. She looked very different. She's a Mexican lady, and she looked kind of like, hard to say, kind of like an undead. And she was talking to somebody, and they were laughing, and we were waiting on the elevator apparently. And I mean, mind you, I'm only half conscious of this, right? Like, I'm not really sure where I am. I'm not even sure if I'm awake, but I'm starting to wake up. So it's like your dreams, like half your mind is still asleep, and so that dream is kind of carrying over into reality. It's kind of what it was like. I mean, that's based on what hindsight. That's kind of what it seems like it happened. But I remember she was talking to somebody in the elevator, and they're talking and like kind of laughing and stuff. And who knows if that really was true, but there was somebody waiting next to the elevator to get on too, and the elevator opens and nothing happens. Nobody comes in or out, and I'm kind of confused. And I said to the person who's waiting at the elevator, I said, "Am I dead? Did I die?" And this person looked over behind, looked back over at me like that, and its face was like those mannequins at the at a clothing store, blank, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just kind of like just the general features of a face, right? It was like a face like that. And I looked over at me and said, "Are you 54?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And then the thing said, "Well, then you're not dead." And that's pretty much the gist of the trip. We got pushed into the elevator, and the longer this went up, things started to slowly kind of fade away. Like, stuff started to kind of look more like a hospital. By the time I got to my room, I was pretty much awake, and everything looked back to normal. It was very strange, man. I'd never been under anesthesia before. And that's a different type of trip, right? Because it's almost like, like I said, like coming out of it, it was like your dream. You're slowly coming out of it, right? But your dreams are kind of being carried over into the consciousness at a very slow rate. Like usually when you wake up from a dream, you wake up pretty abruptly, and that it pretty much ends pretty much instantly. But under anesthesia, I guess because of the chemical, sedation, when you're coming out of it, it's just kind of lingers and kind of slowly gets pulled out of your dream state, and it was very strange. It's kind of a mind fuck too, because it's like, how am I supposed to interpret that, right? Is it just trip? Was it just a dream? Was it just tripping? What was it? I mean, is that some sort of like omen? Is that somebody telling me like that my card is up when I'm 54? That's like when I'm gonna die. And even if even if I were just to write that off as just a trip, right? Which that's kind of what I'm gonna do. But it's gonna fuck with you subconsciously, right? And subconsciously, you can say to yourself all you want, that was just part of the trip. That was just a bad dream. But subconsciously, you're gonna remember that shit because I'm 48 now, so it's like 54 is not that far away. 6 years, 5.5 years now. Fuck. So hopefully this will remember this video. When I'm 54, I'm gonna make another motherfucking video about it, and basically I'm gonna probably write my will when I'm 53. All right, but yeah, that's a trip. I mean, I've had similar trips, not similar trips in that nature of the content of what happened, but I've had trips where I couldn't tell like if I was dreaming or not on DMT. When I blasted off on DMT a few times, I've gotten like into a dream state like instantly, and I didn't know what happened while I was under the influence of DMT. I didn't know what happened, and and then I would, when the DMT wears off and like you wake up on the floor, or whatever, your pipes in your hand and shit, and you're like, take me like 10 seconds of looking around and be like, what did I just do? What happened? So DMT can kind of do that too, but DMT is more abrupt. It's like instant, dent, dent. It wasn't like slowly coming out of it. Um, very strange, very strange. I don't know if any of you have had this experience with anesthesia before or not, but that's just some powerful shit, man. You don't fuck around with that. But the surgery went okay for those who are wondering. I mean, I am now having no gallbladder, but learning how to adjust my diet so I don't shit myself. That's fun. But I mean, I only had surgery like less than a week ago, so that's that. I'm okay. Got some nice beauty marks across my whole stomach. That's looks like I had a C-section. Maybe they took an alien out of me. That's probably what happened.